Want me to talk into the microphone and see if it comes up? One more second.
Welcome to the September 3rd, 2025 North Logan City Council meeting. We will excuse Buzzy tonight, who is away on business. And we will start with an opening ceremony where Kenny will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, after which Joni will offer our prayer.
Oh, you please stand and recite the pledge with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful that we could be here this evening and to take care of the affairs of our city. We pray that we will be guided and directed in the decisions that will be most beneficial for those that live here, and pray that for those that are gone tonight, that Buzzy will be blessed with thy spirit with him too. And we pray for those that are here with us that we may be able to conduct a good meeting tonight, and are grateful again, Father, for these opportunities we have to serve thee. And we say this humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Joni. Okay, I would entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Emily. Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. We have some city council meeting minutes from August 20th. Does anyone have any additional changes for those? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Emily.
Second.
Second by Kenny. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Tonight we have a recognition of our exemplary staff member. It is none other than Jordan Oldham. He was nominated by Scott Perks. He said, "I'd like to nominate Jordan Oldham and Public Works Department for their exceptional coordination and hard work to complete this summer's capital improvement projects, especially the completion of the 600 East Roadway and 2500 North 800 East roundabout projects. Both of these projects required many months of detailed planning and coordination to source available funding, design, and engineer the plans, acquire property, mitigate impacts to adjacent property owners, and hire contractors, and manage alternative transportation routing. Throughout all of these challenges, Jordan and his team demonstrated a high level of leadership and commitment to the community by ensuring both of these critical connections were completed before the school year kicked off." I'll add that there were some doubters on whether these projects would be completed on time, and we're so pleased that they were. And I know, without being specific, that you guys went above and beyond to accommodate the property owners impacted by these projects, and I think they'll just be such important projects that will affect people for decades to come. So let's join them in giving a hand of applause.
Thank you for proving us doubters wrong.
Okay, we'll start with reports from our public safety officials. I think Chief Goodrich, you mind starting? I like to mix it up every once in a while.
I wanted to, on this one, kind of give just a snapshot, 2024 versus 2025 for the month of August on that. So the top left corner that you see up here are the calls for service, January 1 to September 1, compared 24 to 25. We are up 211 total calls so far. Some of that is priority, some of that is the non-priority calls. The next graph over is your traffic stops by year, again from January 1 through September 1 on that. We are up 77 more stops than we were last year, which is good. So despite seeing a little more calls, they're still out trying to make more stops. And then if you'll scroll down, this last graph that you see here are really the priority calls that we were talking about on this last time for the month of August, 25 versus 24 there. So some of them are just a little bit different and a little bit concerning. We're fairly close on accidents, 31 to 30 compared to last year. The burglaries are down. We do have 2 more child abuse and child neglect cases that we've taken this month compared to last year. And then our domestics are down, which is a good sign. Our drug investigations are up by 4 compared to 0 from last year. And then the other 2 concerning, we had a child sex offense that was a pretty awful one that our guys are investigating this month on that they've dealt with. So all in all, we're fairly close to where we were in priority calls. There's a few differences on that, but it kind of gives you a good snapshot of where we are compared to last year on what we're doing. The very last thing back, if you'll go back to the top page or top of it, Alan. For this week, I also included the non-priority calls that we took, and that's what you see in the top there. We had 106 calls from the August 24th to August 30th, and then out of that, 81 were for North Logan. Those were just the non-priorities. So our guys are busy. They're out and about doing stuff. That kind of gives you a good snapshot of where we're at as far as priority.
Yeah. Questions for Chief?
Okay.
Appreciate your role also in honoring the 2 officers. Like, I know that North Park was involved and it was a tough week. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the support too that you gave us as well.
Okay, thanks, Chief. All right, Chief Thompson. Hey.
Council and Mayor. I'll have some numbers put together for next council. I just wanted to take a minute to do just a quick overview of what's coming here in the next month or so with Senate Bill 215. I'm not sure how much you've heard about that one, but I thought it would be a really good idea to take a minute, let you know kind of where we're at in that process. Essentially what it was the Emergency Medical Services Modification Law that Senator Owens put through. Basically what we have to do, every EMS system now has to go out to RFP and then put in a proposal for your own system every 4 years. So we were the unlucky one. We're this year. I anticipate the bill being changed potentially in the September, maybe in the emergency session. There's been talk of that. We're not planning on that because we've got to make sure we keep our license. So just for a little history, in 2020, 2021, when the SEMS Authority was disbanded, EMS licenses are geographical. So at that point, North Logan, River Heights, and Providence put in their license together. Now, this is just for EMS transport and interfacility transport. Okay, this is just for EMS licensure. So the 4 cities are a geographical license. We're hoping and we're wanting to just go ahead and put back in for that exact same geographical area. It has to go out to RFP by law now every 4 years. I think the intent is to be able to share with councils and be transparent with the business dealings and how the system operates, what's in the system, because a lot of people don't even know how big the EMS system is. So be planning on that. That's coming up. The Logan attorneys have been going through the law to see. We were unsure if we were even really going to need to go to RFP. We're going to do it just because Bureau of EMS, it looks like we probably got a stance where we do the interfacilities. That's been the sticking point. If you didn't do them or you were not going to do them, it was an area where it required you to go to RFP. But we're going to do it nonetheless. We've talked to the Bureau of EMS. We just thought it'd be good to go through the process because we do have new players. And here we are 4 or 5 years later in the EMS system. It's hard to believe it's been that long. So you've got 3 geographical license holders in Cache Valley. Cache County EMS, Smithfield, and then the Logan City cooperative there with North Logan, River Heights, and Prov. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. That'll be coming forward. We're working on the RFP. We literally have to write this RFP for our own system, and we're almost done with that. We'll put in a proposal. It has to go out for a minimum of 1 week. What that looks like. About 4 other cities that I'm aware of that are similar size, Lehigh, Layton, a couple of those cities have done this process because they were due in July. Only Lehigh, I believe, had another bid come in for their city, but it's kind of a interesting thing to have to do. but we'll go through the process. So we'll get as much information out as we can to you for education and our proposal and, in our presentation. So.
I am curious, are there any requirements that you have to go with, like the lowest bid within this system?
No, so there's
Just the
three, it's
best
excellent
fit.
question. There's actually three components to it: quality, delivery of service, and then one other. And so we'll be in our presentation and in our proposal, we'll be covering all three of those points. The state's provided us kind of a guideline since it's a brand new program, and there's only been like 4 or 5 cities that have gone through this so far. I don't think Senator Owen's intent was to have systems that are already doing all of it to have to rebid it. That's where we got the sticking point with the attorneys, because when they saw that we were going to continue doing interfacility transfers, they're like, well, it doesn't look like we really should have to do this. But like I said, we're going to do it. We'll go through the process, and it'll be a great opportunity to educate anyone that wants to know more about the EMS system that serves our cities. So that'll be coming up. We have to have that done by the end of the year. We know that November, December are tough months to get those things through. So we're working on trying to have that ready by the end of the month. So I'll try to feed you as much information as I can as this stuff continues on, but it'll be a big deal because we'll be trying to get through House Bill 48 as well, the wildland urban interface stuff that I'm working on with Alan. So I'm sorry, you'll probably hear from me a couple more times, but
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
okay. Thank you. No questions? Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Let's see. Review of strategic directives and action items, Ellen.
Thanks, Mayor. Just jumping through these, the only update on general admin is regarding the website. We've met a few times. They'll have 90% of that, or Dylan will, 90 to 95% of all the edits are ready to go for the new website. But the one area that's tough is parks, because it depends on other software that we're looking into for reservation of parks and facilities and other things. That might be the only one that's kind of held over, where we continue to look at that in the coming months. Water, we'll go over that at the end of the meeting, but the treatment plant's going great, and the 4 million gallon tank, Jordan will give the updates on those. Sewer, they did rebuild the sewer lift station mostly in-house, and so hats off to the crew for doing that. They are cleaning lines. We will have that meeting coming up next Tuesday, I believe. We'll look at that for being a sewer department employee for a day, the city council. Streets, they're doing a considerable amount of sidewalk and replacement and also repair. But then their main projects that they've been working on for the last few weeks are major projects. One is in Deer Haven. That's an injection well. And just so everyone knows, back in the day when they installed several subdivisions throughout the city, stormwater was more of an afterthought. It wasn't really required and wasn't really a thought until the early 2000s. And so Deer Haven's a relatively new project, probably in the 90s is when it was installed. But even at that, they did not plan for stormwater in the way that they should. And so what the cities had to do in several different like cul-de-sacs and other subdivisions, they have to dig a giant hole in the ground. They put in a giant sump, and then that serves as the detention for the stormwater in that subdivision, so that homes aren't really affected when it rains, and we don't have water coming into the homes and things like that. And so that's what they're doing in Deer Haven right now. It's a large undertaking, but after it's done, it'll really, well, help the residents sleep a lot better that live in those types of subdivisions where they haven't had adequate stormwater protection for all these years. Naomi Drive is the private drive that we inherited. It's a very steep road that has endless stormwater and mud and other concerns. The city staff and crew have been helping install curb and gutter to correct that portion, and then they'll come back in and repave a portion of that and put the adequate base in under that in the coming weeks. And so that's a huge undertaking as well. It's only for a portion of the road because it's so expensive to do these types of things. Engineering 2815 North project, that's completion, or it basically is completed. That's the one west of the highway near Rush and the Sauk factory. And they're starting on the Main Street project next to that, where they have to install a deceleration lane right in front of where McDonald's will go. And then 1200 East, that's that major project going through. They've completed just about the vast majority of the project, but they have to wait at this time until the entire box culvert or the bridge is installed for the canal. That's the major one that they're waiting on. Jumping down through
Alan,
trails,
really quick, do they think that will we get to that as before asphalt stops being produced?
that is the goal and the hope that they're moving towards. And that's.
I want Jordan to answer this because he tells us really nice things. I'm just kidding. I want the truth.
So as of right now, it just depends on the weather in November,
Oh,
but
okay.
we will have it open regardless. So we'll do a temporary measure if we need to. But we
Meaning
plan to have
gravel?
it- No, it would be an asphalt surface,
Oh, okay.
but the culvert would just be pipes at that point.
Oh, I see.
We'd have to rip them out and put in the bridge.
We are
Okay.
pushing very hard to get it done before that point, though.
Okay. I was joking, by the way. I just want the truth.
Jumping ahead, the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, we are having meetings on that and moving that forward. Recreation, you can see all the different registration that's opening now and starting this week, and then it'll just get more and more busy as they're in soccer right now, and then they have flag football, and then it moves into major events for Pumpkin Days, which goes all through the month of October. Jumping down through cemetery, they're planning for the shed. They'll probably start some of the preliminary groundwork, scraping the site and getting ready for that in the coming weeks. Jumping down through to community development, we'll have updates from Scott regarding the general plan at the end of the meeting. But there are a few other projects coming through that will be under consideration, including Sage Hills Phase 2, which will be tomorrow night on the City Council Planning Commission agenda. Economic development went over a few items that are coming through right now. Just wrapping up those items. These departments right here are mainly getting ready for the audit coming up. So their audit and everything that they go through in the coming weeks and months. Preparing for that and going through that all day, every day. And then the library, you can see all of their programs coming up right now. And then they are working very heavily to put together a plan for when the community center is completed, which is coming up in the next few months. How do they stay in operation? How do they transfer over the books into the new area partially and stay in operation with those books? And hats off to Trent and all of his staff for putting together these plans. And then we went through police and fire. Are there any other questions about any of the items I kind of skipped over?
Questions for Alan? No, thanks, Alan. Okay, then we'll get into our action items. The first is consider a resolution approving the use of formal eminent domain to acquire easements through portions of parcels 05-003-0013, 05-003-0003, 05-002-0007, 05-004-0011, 05-004-002, and 04-050-0020, located at approximately 2300 North and 2000 East in the Canyon Gate subdivision for the installation of culinary water transmission lines. I think the council's familiar with this because we've talked about it pretty extensively in the past, but just to kind of run through the history of this particular negotiation. These negotiations began with Damon Cann, Mayor Cann, when he was in office, started these discussions right before he left office in November of 2021, proposing 2 water tanks on the bench, and then a easement through Canyon Gates property. I think at that time, Damon emphasized that the benefit to Canyon Gates in this situation is that we would waive their participation in the tanks themselves, which is obviously a huge benefit. It's something that is just known, you know, when you develop, you have to participate in the water infrastructure that you necessitate. And so Damon began those discussions. I continued those discussions when I took office in late February. And at that time, Mr. Condi was, the owner of the property, was amenable to the discussions. He wanted to understand specifics about what kind of savings would be available in the event that he did participate. We continued these discussions, not in a, like, just over time, because every time we got to, actual discussions, it was just kind of, they stalled a lot of times. So the most recent discussion happened kind of concurrent with Steve Condy entertaining an offer to purchase the property and be developed by a gentleman named Mr. Dade Rose. And I approached via email Mr. Condy in May to offer him once again before that, there's an email trail from starting probably in March or April of this year, of me trying to make sure Mr. Condy had all the documents. So we had been in email communication. We sent them all of the plans and the engineering's estimates about the cost savings that could be realized with this deal. And we've had discussions with Mr. Rose and Mr. Condy throughout this, trying to secure this easement, because concurrent with this, we negotiated for the property for the water tanks and sent it out for RFP and had started construction on this. So it became, time was of the essence in these negotiations. The most recent phone conversation I had with Mr. Condy, I expressed a desire to continue these negotiations and to expedite them in the interest of facilitating the construction on the property. He told me that he did not want to relinquish any sort of leverage that he would have by withholding the easement. And I told him that his estimation of the leverage was incorrect, given that in the event that they don't participate in this easement, then they will be required to participate in the cost of the tank and the water line, and that their land would be undevelopable if this project does not continue. So on July 29th, we sent out a formal offer offering $150,500 for the easement. It's approximately a little under 2 acres of property, but it is just an easement right, not the actual property itself. We sent that with the attached ombudsman's acquisition brochure, an offer to purchase, a statement of just compensation, the property appraisal, a real estate purchase contract, and deeds or easements, and a map and legal description. I received a response to that on August 18th, 2025 from Steve Condy's attorney, confirming receipt and indicating that the offer was woefully deficient and that they would not be interested in voluntarily selling any easement to the city. We then invited Mr. Condy and his partners to speak tonight, or his attorney on his behalf, on this meeting regarding the council's consideration of utilizing eminent domain to purchase the necessary easements for culinary water lines. I don't see a representative from Mr. Condy here, so I'm going to assume that they are declining our offer to speak at the meeting, unless someone tells me otherwise. With that, council, do you have questions on this item? And Alan, did I miss anything that I need to add?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mayor, I have just a clarification. So you said that he indicated to you that he didn't want to relinquish this leverage. Leverage to achieve what exactly? Do we know?
I think he views it all as, I mean, I'm speaking for Mr. Condy, so I think that he views this negotiation as to the development requirements as a negotiation, and he felt like if he acquiesced on that point, like of giving us the easement, that then he couldn't extract any sort of concessions on our part, because he would have already given up the only thing that we wanted in these negotiations. I can't adequately articulate the theory behind it because I don't really understand it. I don't think that there's an imbalance of leverage here. So that's the best I can do. Right.
And the water lines would not constrain the ability to develop this area because they would go under roads and infrastructure where there wouldn't be any structures otherwise, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So it goes under the future 2300 North.
I can pull up the map, sorry. So to answer Kenny's question, it's my understanding, this water line would go under 2300 North that's planned right here in the subdivision plan. And then the other water line would go underneath this water line and go in between the lots. And so, yes, to answer your question, it wouldn't eliminate any of their lots or it wouldn't alter their subdivision in any way, shape, or form. However, they do need both of this water line and the tanks in order to develop their subdivision, because the city does not have adequate water to provide water to this subdivision to move forward on their subdivision.
And you're speaking about interior water on that.
Yeah, interior culinary water, they would be required to use secondary water for their exterior, which is the city's ordinance currently.
So the water line will kind of curve as the road curves there.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is a concept plan, not a final plat.
Correct. It's a concept plan that's a good clarification, Mark. The only portion of the subdivision that's been finally platted or has a final plat is phase 1A and 1B, which are on the far northwest corner of this subdivision that you can see here.
Other questions?
Why isn't the developer here?
Well, the developer is not the developer of this property. It's someone who's looking to purchase the property to
not-
develop it.
He's not.
An interested party at this point.
All right.
Yeah.
And as of right now, not a single counteroffer has been given. He hasn't reached out to the ombudsman office.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I have not heard since we scheduled it, gave the notice of tonight's hearing. I've not heard anything back. We send it to the address on record that the state law requires us to, and then I forwarded a copy just as a courtesy to both Condi and his attorney. So they're aware, but I haven't heard anything.
I'm sad to not have them here, but at this point, I feel like time is of the essence. My one question does anybody else have any? My one question is, I'm looking at the resolution, and I had known we had discussed earlier wanting to put something about retaining the property immediately. And I'm not quite sure where that would show up in a resolution, or does it show up in the resolution? Or do we have to, is
I
that a
believe
separate
that-
thing to apply for immediate occupancy?
I think
what
that
the
happens in the complaint.
I
Is that
just-
what you just said?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
I just wanted to make sure I was understanding where it would come up.
No, I appreciate that, Emily.
Okay. Then I propose that we approve a resolution approving the use of formal eminent domain to acquire easements through the indicated portions of parcels numbered 05-003-0013 and 05-003-0003 and 05-002-0007 and 05-004-0011 and 05-004-002 and parcel 04-005-0020 located at approximately 2300 North, 2000 East for the installation of culinary water transmission lines.
Okay. Motion by Emily.
I'll second it, just to edit it to make sure we're citing the rule.
Oh, do we need to, in doing this, do I need to accept we don't have facts and
No,
findings.
I
so
was just gonna correct the parcel numbers. You had it. but-
Which
but-
partial
But I
number
would
did I
just
get
say,
wrong?
as stated,
As-
I would
as
have seconded
indicated here.
resolution 25-21.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
There's a
so-
lot of zeros there, guys, sorry.
So Mark, with that edit, that's a second. Okay, any further discussion on this? Okay, then I'll call for a roll call vote. Joni?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Emily?
Aye.
Kenny?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. All right, we'll move on to consider the revocation of a business license for a home-based business located at 2584 North, 370 East, Armando's Garage. I can read into the record the letter that we got. What's the procedure here? Okay. I'll do that just to, as an abundance of caution. Sounds good. You want to start with that, Scott? Okay. Okay, sounds great. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so this particular item is before City Council. If you look in the city's ordinance for regulation of businesses, there's a section that describes the revocation of a business license if and when it is deemed necessary. The City Council is the authority over that action. We've had a home-based business at this property that is focused on automotive repair. The timeline in your packet, you'll notice starts about a year ago, a little over a year ago, where we initially had some complaints from some neighbors, and code enforcement reached out to the property owners and discussed what needed to happen in order for that business to become compliant with the city's requirements, but also to become licensed. They were operating without a business license at the time. And through those efforts a year ago, the property owner, business owner cleaned up their property, and a business license was requested and was issued with very specific conditions of operation based on our home-based business code. Our home-based business code is, if you read through and understand the intent, it's intended for businesses to operate almost as if you can't tell that they're there. So these are CPAs that work from home, folks that have maybe an e-commerce business. Mostly the most intensive home-based business is daycare, where folks are picking up and dropping off children at a home-based daycare. But we do in that language allow for automotive repair, but there is language very specifically that indicates that no work with regards to that business is to be done outdoors. All of the work is supposed to be indoors. All of the storage of equipment, materials is intended to be indoors as well. And so when we issued this business license after the property had been cleaned up, we indicated that, hey, you can operate this business, but it needs to be done indoors, and you can't be parking, multiple vehicles on the property waiting for parts or, waiting for pickup with clientele. And we had discussed perhaps them exploring a mobile automotive repair business where they would actually do the repair work at the location of their client versus bringing a vehicle back to their property, and that they would look into that. But for the most part, they understood the conditions. We issued that business license about a year ago, and fast forward to present time, we've had more complaints. We've got an expansion of what is being done on the property, which now includes painting of vehicles and some noxious odors that are leaving the garage itself. And so as we've reviewed this, collected some more information, observed the property, we've recognized that the business is not in compliance with their conditions of the business license that was issued, and so that is being recommended to the council for revocation. That's a synopsis of the timeline of events. Do you guys have any questions about where we've been and why we're at this juncture?
I do have one quick question, Scott. So does the business license that he was granted, does it restrict the painting of vehicles? Because in his response, he seemed to think he wasn't aware of that restriction.
Not necessarily. The way that the code reads for home-based businesses is they can do automotive repair, and presumably, painting of vehicles could be considered part of automotive repair. The problem that we're running into is that it is not being contained indoors, and that noxious fumes are now becoming a nuisance to their neighbors. So whether it's indoors or vented from the garage outdoors, it's becoming a problem. We've had very specific complaints from neighbors about that particular issue. But even beyond that, we are still seeing that there are vehicles stored outdoors, equipment, parts, those types of things. So there's multiple reasons for why this license is being considered for revocation.
I understand. I think we'll just have to, at some point in this document, it says something about unauthorized painting of vehicles. So I think we'll have to make sure that if we do revoke the license, it is because of the fumes and the other violations, but not necessarily a violation of.
Yeah, it's a culmination of multiple things. They theoretically could do some paint work inside the garage if they were to mitigate that noxious fumes being ventilated outdoors, although I don't know how you would do that in a safe manner without any ventilation.
This is an area that's pretty highly concentrated too, like,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
pretty.
He indicates in his response that he is going to stop painting. And I don't know if that changes anything.
I guess my biggest beef would be, I think when we're asking somebody to keep all the vehicles inside a garage of some sort, I was also assuming we're expecting all of the parts, associated parts and tools to also be inside the garage. Am I misinterpreting that, Scott?
No, that's correct. And all the work as well is to be done indoors.
Okay, and I'll just say this right now, that is almost 100% not happening. I have yet to go by that home and not see car parts outside of that garage. In which case, I feel like he's been given multiple times to come into compliance and has continued to choose to not do so. And that's where I'm finding myself thinking, if this would wake him up to it. Now, let's say we revoke his license and he decides to become completely in compliance and comes back. What would we allow him another license? Like, what kind of happens from there? Is there a harder process for him?
I'd have to look at the code, but I believe that there's some language in there that indicates that if a license has been revoked, then the council or the city could refrain from issuing a similar license within a year
Okay.
as a method to have like a cooling off period. I'll have to go look and double check, but what we kind of view this as is this is a good problem to have for this business. They've obviously had plenty of, business and clients. It's just outgrown the space that they're in. And, sometimes it takes a nudge from the city to say it's time to go look for a property that's adequate for this type of a use. Where home-based businesses are never really meant to encroach upon a neighboring property owner's, peaceful enjoyment of their own property as well. So the scale and the scope of the operations is just beyond what is permitted.
Okay.
Does this permit allow him to still do the mobile? So he can go to someone else's home, he just can't have it at a
If they were
home
to
base?
restructure and truly not have client vehicles, more than one in the garage at a time, then yeah, they could do that. And that is what the original business license had intended. When we issued that license, we had said, you understand these conditions, you're fine to operate within these parameters. And that's where we had kind of discussed the opportunity to do a mobile type of an operation, which would allow for them to, visit their clients where their vehicles are located and not bring them back home and impact the neighborhood. But that may have been something they had explored. I don't know, but at present, that is not the condition or the operation that we're seeing.
Mr. Bolschweiler, do you have anything that you'd like to add? At the microphone though, just so that we can get you on the record.
In quite a few of my visits, I have noticed parts right out in the front lawn. Vehicles, multiple vehicles. They do have a large family with a lot of adults that live in that house, and that's fine. The vehicles, I've watched them. There are a lot of the same ones that are there which belong to the family. But a lot of times there's 1, 2, occasionally 3 that are sitting out on the road. I have seen there was the van that was mentioned that was all primered up that had a cover over the top of it, sitting out in the road. That's violations right there on that van. When they did get the license, things went good, and then it just started creeping down and went back to where it was, if not worse. So it's not getting better. There has been multiple conversations with him to urge them and to advise them that there are the odors and everything, and yet they keep continuing to do the painting. I did happen to drive by one time and actually got out and was walking down the sidewalk, took pictures, and I don't know if you've seen the picture. The young man that was sitting out in the driveway actually scrubbing on the van that had just been painted, doing work out in the driveway. That's got your 2 violations. One that they're doing the automotive work, and it's out in the driveway in open view of the public.
Okay. Okay, and I think Mr. Bolschweiler brings up a good point here that we kind of have to act on behalf of property owners whose rights are being infringed on, so that's maybe something we haven't spoken to, is that, we have to consider how people's property rights overlap. And so I think it's good to kind of, and Emily, to get your perspective as well. I think that's helpful.
If it was my property next to him, I'd be getting pretty frustrated, especially if I had to sell it.
Yeah.
And I've got a car lot in the next door that's grease all over the road, and it's obviously being used outside of where it should be at.
And I think there's been
So-
so many different calls too on that.
And I really do hope that he's able to find another spot because it sounds like his business clearly has outgrown the space. I think Scott put it perfectly that way.
It just, if we revoke the license, it doesn't magically make the items disappear.
Correct.
So what will be your
If
next
he's
step?
doing business without a license, then it can turn into a misdemeanor, Class B misdemeanor, which is $1,000 fine in 6 months. I think is what the penalty is for in jail.
And that doesn't make this stuff disappear either.
No, but it sounds like it sounds like the last time when he decided to become compliant. And so I would assume if it's revoked, I could see this person trying to become into compliance again, maybe avoiding it, maybe not, but I'm going to be slightly optimistic here.
Yeah, that'd be nice if that's what did happen.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen so far, the zebra and the stripes kind of thing, I don't know if it would happen for very long.
Well, we'll just.
Sounds like what really needs to happen is he needs to find a commercial location where
Jody?
that's built for this
That
purpose,
would
not a
be awesome.
residential
I think it
garage,
would be
but
good for them too.
yeah.
It's
No.
just motivating them to take a chance, grow.
Okay. I think just as a courtesy, we'll read their response into the record. This is from the Aguilars. She says, when we were in the process of getting the business license after the application was in, there was a day I called the business license office and specifically asked if doing body work or paint is okay. The man whose name she can't remember told her that it did not matter what kind of automotive work it was. I took that conversation to mean it was okay. If I was mistaken, it was an honest mistake. I'm just going to summarize and then we can, let's see. When I talked to Chris, he did not say we couldn't do auto body work. He said that there couldn't be smells, so they focused on trying to reduce the fumes. They said that that slowed down their work so that they had extra vehicles on the curb. She says that some of the vehicles parked along the public right-of-way were people who lived in the home. Sometimes they park finished jobs on the street to be picked up for hours, but not stored there. She said there is not a painting booth. She said the unregistered vehicles on site are theirs. They are being worked on in the driveway off and on, and the parts that are near there are for them. Okay, they've been working on their fence and have a cart to put painting stuff and stands. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out what this says. Also, we have been working on our fence and have a cart to put painting stuff and stands we have been using to put boards on to sand and paint them. This has nothing to do with the business. They said that they did not talk to a code officer on the 7th. She thinks that the customer complaint was a scam to get a free paint job on the part of the father. Let's see. All that being said, we had already come to the conclusion that to continue to do paint work here wasn't cost effective. It was taking 10 times the time to get work done. They were able to make arrangements with Eric and Mako for them to do our painting from now on and keep the mechanic work here. Having this business has given us an opportunity to teach and work with our sons and help them develop some great skills, and that has been huge for our family. If you'd please consider giving us another chance to prove we really are trying to comply and do things right, we would be very grateful. So, anyone that wants to speak to that on the council? My concern, I think, is that they've had chances to remedy these situations all along the way, and so I don't think this is the point. Like I think we're kind of just the last gateway, right?
And I don't see this as a proposed solution to fix as
Yeah.
an excuse
Right.
of what's going on. And so it seems a revocation and then start the slate clean and let them
Slowly
come
slide
back with a
again.
plan.
You know what? I actually really like that because I don't even know if this is possible, but I would hope for them to find a bigger spot so that they could operate this business the way they want to, including painting and body work if they want. I just don't, I'm gonna be real with you. I really don't think an automotive makes sense for a home-based business, especially because, again, the point of the home-based business is for people to not know it's there. I just, I, I don't want to like ding anybody who wants to be like a handyman or, little things like that, but I just don't think they're in the right location for it. But if they were to come back with a plan, I would consider it of how we're gonna make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Well, it sounds like they've outgrown the home base and they need to.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know if they'll do that, but.
I think we need to be careful in that if it's allowed in the code, then we can't decide that they can't do it. The code says they can, but we have to meet the conditions of the home-based license, and
It
they're not
does make
meeting
me
those
wonder.
conditions.
It does make me wonder, though, if it is something we should consider on
That's
a
the
separate
second question.
time.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, I think
But-
particularly with the difficulty of complying with the ordinances, like, can those mutually exist?
Well, and there are maybe some off places where they could, but knowing how tight those garages are, I just don't know how you could honestly do, like, at least the size of my garage, I couldn't get a lift in my garage. And I know a lift is so helpful in actually doing automotive work. So it's things like that where I'm just like, I just don't know if they should be allowed. And
Well, and maybe, I mean, I think that there may be specifics that
Yeah,
would work,
no,
like if
anyway.
you had a bigger garage or,
100%.
know.
I just like, I'm just thinking of like the area that it's in and the constraints that I know he is facing because I face similar ones.
yeah.
The point about the code was why I was asking about the body. We say that one of the violations was unauthorized vehicle body and painting work. But really but it's the secondary effects of that really were the violations, the noxious fumes and the cars parked outside. So I think we'll just have to be careful that it's not because of an unauthorized vehicle body and paint work, but it's all the secondary effects.
It's that it
that
was
are
done
violations.
outside of the garage.
Yeah,
There's things
there's
like that.
cars,
Yeah.
there's broken down cars on the
In
public
violation of
right-of-way,
the explicit
noxious
conditions
fumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
of the license.
We-
Okay.
Thank you.
We've
That-
kind of had a combination of a legislative discussion, which what we want the law to say, versus administrative discussion, which is enforcing the existing law.
We need to go back to
And our focus
enforcement.
should be on the administrative today that says,
Absolutely.
this is the current law, these are the issues with violating the current law, and as an administrative function, we're revoking the license.
I agree.
Was
We
that a
have-
motion, Mark? No, I think that's a great point. And it's maybe something to consider in the future. I don't know how often this comes up as an issue, so I don't know that we necessarily, I think there are enough constraints in the licensing portion of it that either you can comply with those and do whatever home-based businesses are allowed by the code, or you can't do it. I mean, it seems pretty explicit to me. But Mark, do you want to make a motion on this?
Sure, I'll make a motion to, we have a resolution in the file that we're adopting.
No,
Yes, we do, right?
I don't know that there would be a resolution. It would be a motion to revoke a
Just,
business
I was
license.
looking to see if we had a resolution. If we don't, then I'll make a motion that we revoke a license for home-based business of Armando's Garage located at 2584 North, 370 East. For
Okay,
the reasons set forth in the staff report.
okay. Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Emily. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. All right, now we will consider updates to ordinance 13F-111 monuments/grave markers/structures specifically related to mow strip widths. Who gets to speak on this one? Alan,
I can go
our
over this
sexton.
one.
Still?
Still.
Okay.
Jumping through this though, this is just a clarification. This hasn't come up as an issue, but it was noticed by some of the staff that it could become an issue because of the lack of clarity. And what this is you have a stone for a headstone, which is usually a granite or a marble stone. And then surrounding it, you have concrete. And that's known as the mow strip in the industry, that concrete area. And this goes through and it specifies those things. The problem that we have in here is that it says that it has to at least extend 6 inches to provide that buffer from the stone for the mow strip, but it can't be more than 10 inches. But that does not provide clarity down below when it talks about a monument. So for example, if you have a 3-foot monument, or sorry, if you have a 4-foot gravesite, which is all of our gravesites by 10 feet, 4 feet in width, and you have a 3-foot in length, which it says you can go up to for the stone itself. Well, obviously math tells you that you can only go up to 6 inches, but that is not clarified in the ordinance. And so this language attempts to clarify that so that a total size of the monument is not encroaching onto the adjacent grave sites. And that's the intent here, is to say, if you want to go to the maximum size on your headstone, which is fine, you just can't go beyond 6 inches for that. You can't go up to the full 10 inches for the Mow strip, because that would encroach onto the adjacent, grave sites next to the grave.
Okay. Questions for Ellen on this one?
I talked to my dad about this because he's thinking about headstones a lot these days. And he's like, you can't have one only 6 inches wide. You'll hit it with the mower and break the headstone. So my question to you is, why do we just say you can't exceed the width of your lot, of the plot?
We talked about that, but then that doesn't explain the front to back, which can be
That's
termed the
fair.
width or the depth. But the depth is confusing because that's the actual depth of the concrete.
Is there a
which is 4
minimum or just only maximum we talk about in this?
That's the maximum. There's no minimum for the size.
So
of the
we
stone.
don't care if there's not an ability to drive a mower around it and avoid hitting
The
it.
minimum width is 6 inches, so you
Okay.
can't go below 6 inches. That's a great point.
This
Sorry,
just
it
says not to
that.
exceed, so I was thinking that was a maximum, not a minimum.
In the paragraph above that, it talks about how it shall extend at least 6 inches.
Okay, then we're
6
good.
inches beyond the stone all the way around seems like way more than we should, like, that seems way too much.
Not if you're
You'd
driving a
think
lawnmower.
that until
Sorry,
you
am
have
I, maybe I just need to be in more cemeteries, I
I'll-
guess.
I'll
Are
give
you
you
out
an
of your
example.
depth?
It's
Maybe.
I think they're not.
Good one, yes.
Seems like a good buffer until you have a 16-year-old mowing near all of the headstones, and the headstones are thousands of dollars in cost. So
Okay,
it's a good practice.
that's probably a good point. I guess I
Yeah,
was just
that upper
thinking, I'm just like
paragraph
trying to
is-
visualize this in my brain. I'm having a bit of that just seems like a lot. to
It
me.
works out really well. Again, this hasn't been an issue, but we want to get ahead of it in
Very
case there's some gray or ambiguity in here that we don't want, that someone would be confused when they're selecting a headstone for their loved one.
Okay.
And is that like what triggered this? Is it just,
One of our staff members noticing it when someone came in with a very large headstone, and they didn't know what would happen in that, where they were going to the maximum extents, and they're like, if they went out 10 inches, they would be over into the adjacent grave, and we had just never noticed that.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad nothing bad happened for us to
Yeah.
try to fix this.
all right, I'd entertain a motion on this.
I motion that we approve the updates as listed in ordinance 13F-111 for the monument/grave marker/structure specifically related to the Mow strip widths.
Okay, motion by Emily,
I'll second.
second by Joni. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. All right, we're coming up on an hour, not even. So don't be the weak link, staff. Let's get updates regarding North Logan City General Plan and Master Plan.
Yeah, just a quick update. So Planning Commission tomorrow will be holding a public hearing to review and take public comment on the proposed amendments to Title 12C, which is the zoning ordinance. That also includes the draft form-based code for the city center. So those are up for formal public comment. We will not be taking action on those code amendments yet. It's kind of a milestone in the rest of the amendments that we're looking at. We will also be holding a work session to look at Title 12D, which is a subdivision ordinance, and some of the mechanisms we're looking at for some density incentives in that ordinance as well. So those are the two things on Planning Commission tomorrow. As always, all of the draft documents are on nlcplan.org, and we'd recommend everybody go take a look at those. We are getting close to the finish line, so I recommend anybody who might be behind on their reading or would like to get up to speed, that's available for review at any time. I would anticipate within the next 6 to 8 weeks, this will be before the council for formal consideration. So next month, month and a half, somewhere in that time frame, we're hoping to be wrapped up with these code adjustments. And then we can move on to other items. Any questions on that?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Okay, let's get updates regarding North Logan's water capital improvement projects.
Just a couple quick things. We will be working in the canyon on Friday morning. There will be a big pour there on the contact chamber from about 3 in the morning till about 1 in the afternoon. The canyon will be accessible, but there will be delays and we'll have flaggers out. So if you get any people talking to you about that, that's what will be going on up there. The tank, the 4 million gallon tank, we are done with excavation. They're doing rebar work right now, tying that all together. Right now, we are tentatively scheduled to pour on the 24th of September. We're still trying to get finalization from the concrete supplier because it's about 600 yards of concrete that will be coming in. And it's a 24-hour pour, so it'll start at about 10 p.m. and go till 10 p.m. the next day. So
Just have like trucks continuously coming up
Yep.
and then, wow.
That is crazy.
yeah, it'll be nonstop.
Just
Who's setting up the tripod with a time lapse video?
I don't
That'd be
know.
cool.
That would be.
There.
Just to
We could
clarify,
do-
this is just the floor.
Yeah.
This isn't the whole structure.
Can you believe that? That
Yeah.
is so much.
So it'll be a big one. We will notify all the neighbors around the time once we get a solid date from the concrete suppliers. We'll notify them and work with them on letting them know that it'll be around the clock. So that's about where we're at on work.
Concrete isn't super loud though, like.
It's just
The
the
trucks
concrete
are loud
trucks coming
as
in.
they back up.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the big one. We'll disconnect all the
A lot.
beepers. But
big job.
Okay. All right, updates on the Civic Center, Alan?
It's drawing closer. We went over this at the beginning, how the library's putting together a plan for the transition, but you've been over the site. They're wrapping up some concrete work right now. And then they'll start moving towards finalization of the interior of the building. Now they're getting closer in several aspects. The community center is very close, and then they're moving closer on the elbow or the knuckle or whatever we want to call it. And then once that's completed, then they'll start that transition in November, December timeframe to move those things over into that area and start remodeling the interior of the library. And then we do have to work on our finalization of some of the fundraising for those funds.
Okay. All right, let's get reports if there's more to say. All right, let's go Jordan, Scott.
Just a reminder, we do have Meet the Candidates Night, September 24th. And if you can encourage people to submit questions to me,
That's right.
that would be great.
You got it.
And Utah League does have their agenda up. So if you could go and register and get that registration to me so we can pay it. Choose the check option and then it'll give you an invoice and just send that on to me.
Okay, for those meet the candidate questions, that's just emailing you?
Yes.
Okay,
God, is that 6 o'clock p.m. on the 24th?
Yes, the doors open at 5 and hopefully the candidates will bring their literature and meet with people beforehand in this room.
And then 6
I will
o'clock
bring whatever
Q&A.
literature I can.
And then there'll be a 2-hour question and answer session. And
2
then
hours.
that's about 12 questions.
Yeah.
That's not
Tim, are
very
you
many.
ready? Yeah, Tim's ready.
And then we'll have, a half hour, 45 minutes where they can just continue to mingle afterwards.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks, Scott. Alan?
Sorry, just 2 things really quick. The schedule for the mayor's message, Joni, you have that in October. It's an easy month. So the other item is the list of upcoming events. Scott's going over a few of these items. Again, that's sewer department employee for an hour. That's September 9th at noon. We'll send out a location for that. The North Logan Day of Service, you've probably seen signs around the community. This is in several different communities. It's being organized by several different entities. But there are 3 or 4 projects taking place in North Logan City. That's September 13th from 9 a.m. to noon. There's details on Just Serve, and then there's also a website. If you go to the QR code, there's a sign out in front of the city offices. If you go to the QR code, it'll give you more information regarding that. The Green Cane Homecoming Parade is right before the Meet the Candidates night. And that starts in Hyde Park, winds through, and ends up going and dissecting the Cache Recreation Complex by the high school. So just so people are aware of that. And then the Utah League of Cities and Towns, we went over that. And then all of the different Pumpkin Days events are all in orange. So the Murder Mystery Dinner, the Pumpkin Run, Pumpkin Hole, which is the cornhole train they're going to try this year. Pumpkin Walk is the 16th to the 21st. Pumpkin Palooza, that's the pickleball tournament. And then Pumpkin Coloring Contest, Pumpkin Carnival, and then the Pumpkin Toss and Pumpkin Drop is on October 25th at 11 a.m.
Okay.
So lots of events coming up.
Alan, I was asked by someone when registration for some of these events, the pumpkin events that require registration will open up.
Probably in the next couple of weeks. They have that on the rec to-do list in the action items, but I think it'll open up shortly, especially for like the Pumpkin Run and the Pumpkin Palooza. The Pumpkin Hole, the cornhole train, I think they're just still putting together some of the details on that, but those should open up in the next couple of weeks.
Month of pumpkins.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the council? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Joni,
Second.
second by Emily. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nailed it.
1 hour and 2 minutes.
I know, Alan was the weak link, actually. I was aiming for 60 minutes.
Is that the fastest one?
Yeah, but
Okay, they do have some pretty, who's going to like,
How are you doing, Tim?